Hello, this is Ko, and we're going to create a custom item with its own custom texture for our plugin. So creating custom items might be something you're already familiar with when creating plugins, just creating an item stack and giving it some custom item meta. But I want to extend that further and explain how you can actually give it a custom texture. So let's start off with the basics. Let's create an item manager to start off with. So we want somewhere to organize where all our items will be for our plugin and create that item. And so for later, we can give it some event handling and give it the customization that we need. We also want to be able to access this item in some way. So the easiest way would to be give it a recipe. Logically, for many plugins, you either could use a command or just use a recipe to give it to yourself. But just for functionality, let's just give it a proper recipe and then give it some event handling so it feels like a real item. So first, let's create a new Java class, and we're going to call this item manager. So for our item manager, let's start off by initializing or creating a variable that'll store our item. So we can just start off with public static item stack, and we're going to name this a lollipop. So this will be our item, and for an item manager, you're expected to have multiple of these that you can use, and this item manager will basically store all the variables, and you can always come back to it to create more and more items that you can use throughout your entire plugin, assuming that you plan to have a large code base. If you want to just make it simple, you can always just, let's say you're working on an event handler or you're just on enable, you want to create an item stack, just use that item just once on initialization, then you don't really need item manager. But assuming that you have to create a custom item that you want to be able to use anywhere at any time, it's ideal to have some kind of item manager class that you can always go back to. So first, let's create a function that'll create our lollipop. So private static void create lollipop. So as you can see, there's no return for this. So what we're gonna do is first let's just create a placeholder item. So new item stack, and we're just gonna use a poppy since it resembles a lollipop for now, and we're gonna make lollipop just equal to this item. So now we actually want to initialize our item manager, or be able to initialize it wherever we want to use it. So public static void and init, so this will be our initializer, and whenever we initialize this item manager, we're just going to create a lollipop. That instantly makes it that this lollipop will have the attributes that we create here. So first, you want to just give it a custom meta. So custom meta allows us to manipulate a bunch of features for item. So if you want to grab the item meta, so we're going to put item meta equals item dot get item meta. So now we can just manipulate whatever is here. And so after we're done manipulating what's here, you would just do item dot set item meta to this meta that we just grabbed. So now let's just try and change things that we need to. So this is just a lollipop. There's not much we want to do about it. What I always suggest when you're creating a new item is that you just do meta dot, and you can just see the entire list of what you can do for this item. So as the main thing we should probably try to do, I just set a display name. So I'm just going to use a nice chat color. Let's do red plus lollipop. So now whenever we look at our item and hover over it, it'll just have a red text that says it's a lollipop. Now there's some other things that usually people like to use for creating items. So there's something called meta.set lore. So that's like the description of the item. To set the lore, it's like a list of strings. So let's create a list of string called lores, and let's make that a new array list. And let me actually import both of these. Sorry, over here for a class, and now we can initialize this list, and we just do lores.add. So just a description. Let's say a delicious sugary candy. And now you just set the lore to the lore's array list. So this, since it's an array list, you could just add multiple lines of description. This is a pretty simple one, so we just need one line, but you do need to always add it as a list, otherwise it won't work. So again, this is just a lollipop, so there's not much complexity to it, but always just read over this and see the potential that you can have for item. So one thing people do is give it an enchantment. Usually giving an enchantment gives it some kind of glow, so you can see there's a lot of enchantments. You can also get rid of the so you can have the enchantment glow, but you can get rid of that. So people usually use I believe it's the item flag, so you can get the item flags and just remove the item flag, and there's basically an item flag dot hide effects, so there's potion effects, and the one that people like to use hide enchants. But yeah, those are just extra things, but you can do your own research on that, especially with the documentation that Spigot provides. So now we finished creating this item. It's very straightforward, but there is one thing that we're going to need later that allows us to actually give it a custom texture. So that's going to be meta that set custom model data. So by default, an item, so such as like the poppy, its texture model data is always just 0. But if you do anything outside of 0, which is usually up to 16 million, I believe, but I don't think you would ever need to go that far. People just start off with 1. And for now, this is gonna kind of break the texture because a model data of 1 for a poppy doesn't exist yet, and we're gonna need a resource pack for this. But for now, let's just ignore that. So let's just comment it out, and now we should have a custom item of lollipop. And to actually see this lollipop, what we want to do for on enable, let's give it a recipe. So first, we create this item manager, and let's initialize that in the on enable. Now you can see that we can actually refer to this lollipop whenever we want. Right now it's not doing anything, so let's leave, but let's see how we can use it. So let's give it a recipe. To create a recipe, we're just gonna use the shaped recipe class or object. So just follow along. So you can see that the constructor requires a namespace key, then the item stack result. So use shaped recipe with a new namespace key, and for the plugin parameter, just return this, and just some key that you want. So we're just gonna name it lollipop since that's just what this recipe is referring to. And now the second parameter, just return your item manager dot lollipop. So now our recipe will result in a lollipop. And so now let's determine the shape for this. So I want to use sugar as the main recipe. So as you know, there's 3 rows to a recipe shape in the crafting table, and the way each row works is there's 3 possible items per row. So I'll just space it out. So there's 3 items in there, and so you want to just make the shape. Imagine that this is each row, and you just want to make the shape, and it doesn't matter what you put in here first. So let's put some sugar in the top middle row. I want sugar in every spot in the second row, and in the bottom I just want a stick. So let's just do T for stick. So right now, so that's gonna be our lollipop recipe shape. And to actually define what these characters mean, you just do recipe dot set ingredient and put the character, let's say S, and let's say that refers to material dot sugar in this recipe. And then the same thing, recipe dot set ingredient for T will be material dot stick And now we just gotta add the recipe to bucket, which will add it to the plugin itself. The bucket, add recipe. So now if we're to reload this plugin, so run this plugin, and let's copy our jar. And I'm assuming you have some local server to host this. So if you do, you would just go into your plugins folder, plug this in, or paste this in, and now I already have a server open. So if I were to reload, and now if I were to try this plugin, let's get the sugar. Let's get a bunch actually. Let's get sticks. And now if we were to go into here, we have a lollipop, which is just a poppy texture for now. So you can see the red text, it says lollipop, and the lower or the description says a delicious and sugary candy. So let's take that, let's take it all actually, and right now this is what our lollipop looks like. And it's fine, but we want it to actually resemble one, and that's what would make a plugin actually powerful in its customization. So first, let's actually give it some properties or event handling properties. So before we go straight into giving it texture, let's actually give it some kind of functionality. We don't want it to just do nothing. It doesn't really work as a food right now. So I think the most interesting thing we could probably do is just make it give us some effect. We can consume it and get some effect. And since it's a sugary item, let's just make it faster. So let's go back to our plugin, and we need event handling. So let's create a new package. This will be our handlers package, and let's create an event handler. Let's call it player handler. And so if you've done event handling before, you know that this would implement listener. So let's do the player interact event for this item. So first you do it at event handler to recognize that the following function is an event. And so public void, you never really return anything on an event. It just happens and you see what happens. So let's do on item interact. So you want to recognize when we're working with our item. And so player interact event. And also if this is a side topic, but if you're learning about event handling, you can always just go here and just see the kind of events you want. So let's say you want a player certain event, you just see the entire list just by this. You want to see an entity event, that like you can just type a little bit and you'll see all the possible events. And this is nice if you don't want to always like go to, let's say, the docs web page every single time to look for what you want. You can just use your IDE to actually see what you need. So player interact event. So let's actually get the player that's involved with this event. So player equals event .get player, and let me just import this class. And now we want to see when we interact with this item. So first, let's just see if if the event involves right clicking. So if we right click our object or item, that then we actually do the effect that we want. So we can do this with .get action .equals, and then there's an action class, and then you can see right click air, right click block. We actually need both if we want to determine that we're actually right clicking, because you could be right clicking when you're looking at anything. So let's start off with air, like if we're just right clicking into the air, and we're gonna do or event. Let me just copy and paste what we had here, and then we're gonna right click block. So now whenever we right click anything, but at this moment we're gonna detect this event. So what we want to do is actually know what the player is holding. So event that has item, So first we want to see actually an item is involved in this event, and then want to see if event dot get items. Now we know that get items not going to be null because we checked before that has item is true. If you know how booleans work, that if this was to be false, it would never check what comes after. So get item is definitely not null if it's reading this. So if it's reading past has item. So event dot get item, and let's get the item meta dot equals to our item manager dot lollipop. So we just want to see if this item that we just right clicked actually is the same item a meta as our lollipop item meta. And the reason you're comparing item meta is because they are usually equal. You can't compare items straight up. They don't appear the same in the code. There's a lot to it, but the item meta is always a good way. You can also use the display name. That's also a good one to make sure. But I found that getting the item meta is probably the most simple. And I forgot actually that we're supposed to do dot get item meta here. And now we can actually manipulate what happens to this. So I wanted to give the player a speed effect, right? So player dot add potion effect. So new potion effect, and it seems you have to turn a potion attack by type of. Okay, so we're gonna do potion attack type of speed. You have to give it a duration, I believe. Let me just hover over this. So usually you just want to like read the constructor. So it seems it takes potion effect type, a duration, amplifier. I don't want to do too much, so yeah, so we just do type, duration, amplifier. So let's do type and duration. Let's just do 10 seconds, something crazy. And amplifier 1, I believe, could suffice. And that should be it. And we also want to remove the item actually in the player's hand. So player dot get inventory, and we're gonna remove in their inventory whatever is in their right hand. That's gonna be get item. So let's review exactly what we've done so far. So this first if statement, make sure that we're actually in this event that we're doing, that we're actually right clicking something. And next, and we're checking that there's an item involved in this right click, and that that item is the same as that lollipop item that we initialized earlier in the plugin. And if that's the case, then let's just be faster for a few. And let's remove the item to show that it's been consumed. And let's test out if that works. So, alright, so it seems for the player handler, I actually forgot to initialize the constructor. That gives us the plugin and registers the events that happen in the plugin. So you actually have to do this, and then you get a new plugin player handler, and it returns this plugin into that. So now our events should be registered. So when we actually use our item, so let's create our lollipop item again. So like this. And now if I were to right click, so let me actually create two to demonstrate. Oh, it seems that I right clicked and it happened anyway. That is actually something you have to consider. I try to right click this crafting table and with the item out, and it did the effect. And you can see it was short, but it did happen. And let's just make this effect much more longer to see what's going on. So this actually, I believe this by ticks, so that's why it's so instant, not seconds. So I'm not actually sure how many ticks per second. I don't know like the mathematics of Minecraft and stuff like that. So I'm just gonna do 1,000 ticks and see how long that lasts. I'm assuming that's the reason it went instantly. Otherwise it could be milliseconds as well. But I know Minecraft tends to work with ticks. So let me just save that and let's refresh our plugin. So I decided to simplify things a lot more. So I did realize that later on that removing is very absolute, and you will remove every instance of the item. And the easiest way to actually consume items when you're doing multiple times. Removing works fine if you're expecting the item to be a single consumable item, but let's say something like food in this case, you want to simplify things a lot more. So in this case, you're just gonna set the amount to one amount less, and that just consumes the item very easily, and it doesn't cause any issues. So every single time, if you'll see here, I'm just consuming my lollipop, and the speed doesn't stack. As you know, potion effects tend to not really stack, they just reset. So you just keep doing it. I'm just keep resetting. It's just like consuming a potion instantly. And I believe I'm actually getting faster though. Or I don't know, the FOV could give you that kind of feeling. I play on I think the highest FOV, so sorry if that looks insane to you guys. Alright, so for the final thing, our poppy, our lollipop just looks like a poppy, it's not a lollipop. And now let's study how do you actually create a custom texture? How can I look at this and know that it's a lollipop? Why do I have to hover over it to see that? So let's actually look at a couple of resources. So you need to create a resource pack, but let's start reading this very useful resource from the Spigot forums, and they explain how to create custom items. Also, for a teaser for my next video, I want to actually teach you how to create GUI, so you can see there's a lot of potential in custom resource packs, and they work amazingly well with plugins. So let's actually read, how do you create a custom item? So first, actually, let's create a resource pack. So creating a resource pack is actually very straightforward. So if you go into your resource packs folder that already exists when you access the .minecraft and app data, you can also do this just by going to the options and opening the pack folder. So let's look at so I'm creating a tutorial folder. So just creating a folder, this is already recognized that it may be a resource pack. And the way we're going to do that to actually recognize it as a resource pack, so first, inside your resource pack folder, you need an assets folder. After that, you actually need to create a file. So it is a text document, but what it actually is a pack.mc meta file. So this is an essential to recognizing your resource pack for Minecraft. There's actually a generator for what goes inside this. So first, let's open what's inside. So let's create a notepad. We don't need to use some intensive IDE. So over here, you can get how the JSON looks like. It's very straightforward. You don't really need a website like this, but it was just the easiest way I can copy and paste it for you. But what is useful is that you can see the pack format you need for the version you're on. So if you're 1.20, so they changed the format every couple updates, so it stays the same for a while. Actually no, I think 1.20 just changed to 15, but it was like 13 for it goes up every few updates. So right now, absolutely, it's pack format 15. So just copy this into our pack.mc meta. Just give it a simple description. There's actually a lot more you can say to the pack. You can set an image, everything. I would say leave that for your own research. You can go here. This is a resource packs. They explain literally everything possible that you can do with resource pack. This is very there's the fundamentals, but in general, this is the most advanced way you can learn about creating resource packs. But this is not all of us are designers and through 2D or 3D design. So don't be too overwhelmed. What the resource pack that we're creating is very straightforward. You're going to create a very straightforward GUI or item with pixels, and you don't have to think too hard about how it looks. But if you do want to become or you utilize more custom, let's say, blocks and entities, this is where you want to go and get resources for that. But for now, we just want to focus on items, and I will explain in the next video how you can use fonts to create custom GUIs. But for now, let's continue in creating our custom resource pack. So we have a pack.mc meta, and now we've given it what it needs. Let's just say that it's a plugin. Tutorial, yeah, just a plugin resource pack. That's enough. And now let's go into the assets folder. So in our assets folder, we actually just need one more folder, Minecraft. Nothing really else. And then this is the main part. So you need two folders. So one folder is going to be the models folder, and the other folder will be for textures. So the models folder will have the actual, I believe, so it's a JSON file for our item, and the texture is just obviously the drawing of our item. Let's just set up. There's still more folders to go through, so both these folders will just have item folder, so each of them just have that respectfully. So let's write that, and we're gonna focus. Let's just do texture for now. Creating a texture. You can do pixel art or anything, but you just put a PNG file here, and that's it. So let's actually see how we can create that. There's a free resource online. It's called pixelart.com/draw. So since you usually want to keep consistent with Minecraft already has, so just do 16 by 16, and now just draw your item. Alright, so I'm back and I've created just a simple texture. Nothing too crazy. Honestly, I don't really know much about pixel art, just that you need some light on some side and darkness on another, and that's as much as I know. But let's just download this drawing. And let me bring that over. Copy. I'm just gonna put that in our textures. So let me just rename this to be respective to what I want the item texture to be. So lollipop.png. And now this is where everything will happen. So first, let's consider two things: that we have a custom item, and we have this item that we've been using as our placeholder. And that item that we've been using is called a poppy, right? So there's a way to know exactly what the JSON is supposed to be like. You can look online for that. Just look at a default resource pack, and you'll see what is the JSON folder for a call. But it's usually pretty intuitive. Like a poppy JSON is just poppy.json. So let's go back to this resource, and they actually tell you. So first, you have your custom item, the JSON for your custom item. So let me actually go back to here. So I created a poppy.json, but you actually also you need the one your custom item itself, and we're just gonna name that lollipop.json. So let's actually edit this in Notepad. So let's just edit this with Notepad. Make things straightforward. So I'm just gonna copy and paste what they have here. And if you notice, for layer 0, so they put custom : item diamond dust. So the custom. So if you remember the structure of our resource pack folder, it's assets, Minecraft, and then models and textures. Another thing you can do for assets is actually just create a custom folder of your plugin. So what people tend to do is just create a plugin, let's say name it like tutorial or something, and then you can just have the exact same things inside there, inside here in that. So you can actually have different kinds of folders, but this is just this is mainly just to separate. So right now we're putting it together, our poppy and lollipop. But if you want to actually keep them separated, just to organize, let's say you have hundreds of items, it's probably better that you organize it in that fashion. Otherwise it's like you're doubling the size of that folder that you need to be. But for teaching purposes, let's just keep it simple. Put them in the same folder, lollipop and poppy. will be in the item folder for the models. So let's go back to this. So custom, it was what I meant was that this is the folder that, which is either Minecraft or whatever folder you create. So Minecraft would actually be what we're using here, because that's the folder our texture and models is a part of. So layer 0 is referring to the texture. So by default, when it sees this, it's already assuming that you're talking about the texture. So Minecraft, and then item is basically the path of the Minecraft folder to the item in the textures folder, and then the name of that item, or that name of that texture, which is, if you remember, it was just lollipop.png, but it ignores the png part, or recognize that it'll just recognize that that's an image, and so the name of that png file is just lollipop, and you just write it like that. So now lollipop.json, its texture is pointing to this lollipop texture that we put in the folder and created. So now that's the lollipop.json. The custom item texture is always straightforward, but what we need to do is override the poppy texture. So let's go to the poppy folder, file, JSON file, and let's just copy and paste this. So, and then I'll explain to you what's going on. So this is, so ignoring the overrides, let me just quickly hide that for now. This is basically how exactly our normal item looked like. It had the parent, whatever item slash generated. I don't really know too much about what these things mean, but usually, but more experienced people probably with resource packs would understand. But then you see the same thing, the textures. So in this case, what they did for theirs, they created a diamond dust texture, and they use a placeholder of a shulker shell item. And because of that, they use a shulker shell.json, and this is the layer texture that they had for the shulker shell. In our case, it's a poppy, so we're just gonna implement the override. And so if you go to the model generator here, let's say we're searching for a poppy, right? Or sorry, not over here, but in this reference, you're looking for poppy. So you notice that for poppy, it's actually block/poppy, because you can actually place this item down. So in this case, and this is something else to be careful about when you're working with items. Make sure that they don't have like extra features involved with them, otherwise you have to actually cancel when events are involved with them. As you notice with my event handler, because I was handling the right click event, and you never actually place the item anywhere, you notice that the poppy wasn't being placed anywhere, and that's because that event was just deleting the item before it could even process that. So you'll notice that this is Minecraft block/poppy. So instead of item, you do block/poppy. So this is, and now the next part, overrides. So the predicate. So this is the most important part. Remember when I talked about the custom model data? So all you have to do is set a predicate for an override when the custom model data is 1, and this could be any number, but for now let's just say it's 1. And so for the example that I was taking from the resource here, they organized it into their novel folder, but we're just doing the Minecraft folder. And since this is model instead of a texture, so you see this was textures, so that's why it recognized before that this was Minecraft/textures path. This is going to be the Minecraft/models path, and we go to Minecraft/model/item, which is you can see right here, Minecraft/model/item, and then we created a lollipop.json. So now this model is referring to the lollipop.json that we created here, which is referring to the texture of the lollipop. So now you can see what's going to happen. So let's go back to our tutorial plugin, and let's go to our item manager, and let's uncomment this out. So setting the custom model data of 1. So this custom model data assuming that you have that resource pack with the poppy that has a model data of 1, it's going to change to that. So let me save this. So, and run this. So before I reload this, I do want to put the tutorial pack in here. So now we can actually see if this resource pack works. So first, if you want to test it, instead of, before I even craft, so right now obviously this lollipop still has the same texture because before there's no custom model data. So first, if you actually want to see your texture works before even assigning it to an item, there's a command you can do. So to yourself, you look for the poppy or whatever place where you use, and then curly braces custom model data, and then colon whatever number it was. In this case, it was 1. And look, our custom texture is actually the custom model data 1 actually refers to our texture for the poppy. So this actually looks like a lollipop now. So now if we do the crafting for our lollipop, what I haven't done yet is actually reload this. And now we're to craft our lollipop. You'll see it's exactly the texture we had. So now we've made Minecraft think that the poppy is this texture. It overrides this texture because the item meta that we had a model data of 1. And so this is how you can create a custom item just like that with resource pack. But now you might be wondering, how do I actually connect my resource pack to my plugin? You shouldn't want to have to download it and then use a plugin. That wouldn't really make sense if you're trying to give a plugin to other people. That would mean you have to give them the resource pack too. The way you can do this, there's 2 ways you can do this actually. So one way you can do this is make the server have the texture pack, so, or the resource pack by default. But the main way you want to connect your plugin is just by loading the resource pack in when a player joins a server. So let's actually go to our player handler over here at event handler, public void on player join. We want to give them the resource pack when they're joining the server, and this is going to happen every single time it's going to give them the resource pack. So for on player join, let's get the player equals event.player. Actually, we don't even need this. We can just put this all on one line. Let's just do event.getPlayer.set resource pack. And so we need to refer to some kind of link of our resource pack, and there's actually an interesting way to do this. So there's a site called MC Packs. So MC Packs on that, and they actually host your resource pack. So first, what you want to do for with your resource pack that you just created is you want to compress it into a zip file. Resource packs are always best recognized when they're compressed as a zip file. That way you can actually easily download them and take them, put them on servers and all that. So first, let's compress this file. So now tutorial.zip. Actually, just compressing like this on Windows isn't the best way to do it. What you actually have to do is compress these together and name this tutorial. The reason why is just because when you compress it, this MC Pack website won't recognize it, but when you compress it, you want the first thing it sees is the assets and pack.mc meta, otherwise it doesn't recognize it as a resource pack. So we're gonna use this tutorials.zip, and let me move that up over here. So tutorial.zip, and let's drag that into here. Oh no, sorry, they don't support dragging. So tutorial.zip, and sorry, I don't know what happened there. Let's upload, and you're gonna get 2 different things. So the SHA1 is typically used for servers, but the only thing you really need here is the download file. This is gonna instantly download that zip file. So let me just get the download URL here. and going back to the on player join event and setting resource pack, it's going to instantly make them download the zip file as a server resource pack. And every time they leave, it'll go away, and when they join, it comes back. So it's not like it's a permanent download. Or it's not like a permanent thing to their launcher and Minecraft environment. It just, when they join the server and with this plugin, it'll always make them download or always make them load this resource pack. And let's see actually how that looks like. Alright, so let's rejoin our development server. So I'm just using my own development server or local server to test all this stuff. Again, if you want to know how to do that, I may make a video on how to maybe create your own server and also have your own local server at the same time. Because if you're making a plugin and you want to run your own, let's say SMP at the same time, so you need somewhere to test, but you also need somewhere to run your server. If that's something you feel is useful, please let me know. But first, let's load in. So you can see instantly is downloading this resource pack, and now you can already see that it's a lollipop texture. There's nothing more to it. And that's just through the plugin. If I were to remove, I do remember that I do have this tutorial plugin still here. So, but again, to prove it to you, it is that texture working. So that texture is already instantly recognized for our plugin, and now you don't have to worry about that at all. And that is how you create a custom item with a custom texture. And make sure, so a couple tips: know what item you want to use. Make sure you're not using an item that's like really useful. So what I mean by this is, let's say diamond, right? So because some properties still stay, so consider a few things. Like, let's say use a diamond. If you were to give it, let's say the lollipop was a diamond, right? And the lollipop is very easy to earn, but when you earn that lollipop, you're gonna get like an advancement that says that you got diamonds. You're gonna get weird things like that. And if you want to avoid things like that, you should you're gonna have to do event canceling. And also you also have to consider that technically this lollipop is a poppy. There's not much you can really craft with the poppy, but look, there's red dye, right? And that's not something you want them to be able to do. So there's also, you have to also cancel the recipes that are available with this. If you want to know how to do that, please let me know as well. But for now, I just wanted to explain how do you create a custom item with the custom texture. If you feel that there's a lot more you want to know, like what I just said, canceling events with the item, making it really its own thing, and ignoring what else there is involved with it. If there's other effects you want to know, or just general customization to make an effective custom item, I'll be glad to do that. However, my next plan is to help you create a custom GUI, and this is something that's extremely powerful for servers. So as you can see here, you can create these GUIs and give them so much functionality, and this will make it's almost like as if it's an actual mod. And that's the whole point of this video and the next video, is to make your plugin actually feel like it's a mod more than a plugin, since you're actually not just it looks like you're actually creating new things in the world and giving it that feeling. So thank you guys for watching, and hope to see you in the next.